The Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Grueling Truth, as always, is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online casino or sportsbook that's right for you. So check them out at betting.net. I'm your co-host for the Indiana Basketball Show, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in 1981 national champion Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, doing okay today. Just pushing through this 88-degree weather we're going to have out here today. I see your Bengals came out here today or yesterday, and we're just giddy about not having snow in Cincinnati today.
Well, there's no snow in Cincinnati.
So
Today
they're
it's
saying
it's beautiful. It's 50 degrees today and sunny.
our weather person was speculating snow in Cincinnati today.
Well, IU last night falls to 16-7 overall,
You don't
7-6
care.
in the Big Ten. And they have a difficult stretch of games coming. And I think this loss falls on Indiana suspended players. Indiana had chances to win on Tuesday night, but they were dealt a major setback even before the game as Xavier Johnson, Parker Stewart, Tamar Bates, Michael Durr, and Khristian Lander were suspended for disciplinary reasons. And from watching Coach Woodson after the game, he didn't give details on it. We're not going to speculate on it because I don't think things like that should be speculated on. Let's just say there's a possibility they're not going to play at Michigan State either because Woodson said he hadn't made up his mind yet. Hoosiers lose a huge game, 59-51. Steve, what's your first takeaway?
I've got a bunch of them. First one is this was a crucial loss. We talked about this and talking about pregame on this show that this became a must-win game for them to have, and for reasons a little bit outside the box, they didn't get it done, and now they're backing themselves clearly into a corner where every game's going to become very, very, very critical from here on down. Now they just really can't afford to lose maybe one, maybe two more games, or they will be sitting in that all familiar bubble situation again. I think that, coming into this game, they were still solidly a 7, 8, 9 seed in the tournament, but that foundation is eroding away quickly. So that's my first takeaway is uh, this is a missed opportunity for this basketball team. Statistically, other than the shooting percentages, they didn't play that poorly. But most importantly is the behavior of the five players who were disciplined for whatever reason they were disciplined. And as you said, we're not going to speculate on that at this point in time. The fact is they were, and we don't know what the future holds for them, the immediate future for them. But it really let down the program, the coaches, the guys that played last night. And I thought played their hearts out. They just got wore down eventually with a short rotation that they weren't used to, and it falls on the shoulder of the five kids that did not maintain the culture of the team or the training rules of the team. So it just elevates the necessity for going to East Lansing and playing Michigan State on Saturday. Now, Michigan State took it on the chin pretty good to Wisconsin last night. I don't know if that favors us or hurts us at that point. I'm sure we'll talk about today.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here that I take away is three of those suspended players, Johnson, Stewart, and Durr, are in their fourth or fifth year of college basketball. These are the guys that should be setting an example in the IU's locker room, not doing crap like this.
Yeah, I'm just exactly these are the leaders of the team, and to break training rules or team policies or whatever the reason was, um, just but this is what coaches inherit a lot of times too, and I can't really put this on Mike at this point in time because, like you've said before, and I've said it too, these really weren't his players by recruits, but they are his players by being on the team now and even being the coach. So, but still, I it is disappointing for some of the guys on here. We lost basically almost 40% of our offensive output with these 5 players. Um, so a chunk of offense coming out of this, a chunk of hustle and defense, and our rotation. But it's surprising of the number, the names of the players who were involved in this.
Yeah, and I think my big takeaway is Trey Galloway. I mean, he's a guy that I always thought should be playing a little bit more. He looked the part of a starter last night. He scored 13 points, 5 rebounds, dished out 3 assists in 37 minutes. He did commit 5 turnovers. When you look at this, I think a guy like him should have really helped his case last night. And when you look at all these older guys in their 4th or 5th year, you wonder if they're even going to play again. I know they talked about will they play against Michigan State. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I don't know exactly what happened. But if you got a game like this and you got 4 or 5 guys who put what they want to do before the team, I mean, maybe we ought to just play with 7 guys the rest of the year.
Yeah, I don't know. I've known Mike since elementary school. Back in the day, we've known each other and played against or with each other for. I don't see Mike as being a vindictive person. Somebody
That's
who's
not
going to
vindictive, though. I mean,
well, but okay. Let me rephrase it. Hold a grudge on this stuff. I think he's going to define his discipline, get it over with, and do it, and try and teach these guys a learnable lesson, and then move on and get back to putting Indiana in the tournament and trying to make a little bit of noise this year and make a run at it. That's what I think. I do think Trey Galloway was a very bright spot for this team, but I think you and I both felt Trey had this ability all season long. And, there's the old stupid cliche, doesn't matter who starts the game, it matters who finishes the game. When you're in the thick of the battle. He got 37 minutes. I felt he was gassed at the end of the game. He's just not used to playing that many minutes, and it will wear you out.
Yeah, Steve, what I noticed with Trey Galloway is this. If the rules were like they were last night, I'm sorry, but I don't think you would have been allowed to play college basketball.
Well, I thought it was a pretty physical game last night.
Yeah, but I mean, he wraps his arm around a guy's arm. The guy shoves him. The guy falls down on top of him.
Kidding?
It's a 2-shot technical. I could see the first one. The first one was obvious, but the second one to me, he kind of got tangled up with the dude. The dude started pushing on him, and he fell down, and it's 2 shots in the ball. And that was a huge point in the game because that's basically 2 possessions there.
And you know the difference in college basketball between my era and his era? First thing I said to my wife when I saw the replay of that, I said, damn it, I could go down to Bloomington tomorrow and teach him how to do that and never get caught.
I don't know that you could anymore because now they replay it from 17 different angles to catch you. I don't know that you can get away with it anymore.
Yeah, well, there's ways to keep people's arms where you want them without wrapping them with both of your arms and holding him to the ground. That was a little Mr. Obvious going on there, but it was a gallant effort. I mean, I love the fact that for me it was a fun game to watch because the refs were letting them have at it, boys. They were letting them play. I thought there was a couple times where if I was Collins, I would have been a little bit more irate than he was about some of the muggings that were going down by our guys on their offensive.
Yeah, I thought Indiana's defense. I thought it was normal. And Indiana's defense played really well, and the offense just couldn't get it in gear.
No, I think they got it in gear. They played hard. They led most of the first half, and I think they gassed themselves. I think that only having that 7-man rotation when they were used to an 8 or 9-man and not getting anybody getting as many minutes. It's not that they're out of shape. It's just that their brains are not used to playing any more minutes than that. Like going from 20 minutes to 22, 23 minutes, like Galloway's doing, to 37, which essentially is 3 minutes short of an entire game. And trust me, there were more than one occasion I played the entire game. And when you play an entire game, you are gassed. I mean, I never came out. And there was one game against Kentucky, we played the 40 minutes, and then I went in another 5 minutes overtime. It never came out. So it does gas you. I mean, if you're not used to playing that length of a period of time. But, yeah, I thought the guys that played extremely well. I think had they had the full complement of players, this game was close enough that I think Indiana could have pulled this game out, and it would have been a big, crucial road win for them going into the last 5 or 6 games of the season. But unfortunately, the process includes for coaches and things like that, foul ups like what happened with the team rules and things, and dealt the Hoosiers a big blow that, like we said, has put them in a different bucket all of a sudden real quick.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that stood out to me was the total turnovers. 7 by Indiana, 4 by Northwestern. I thought both teams played good defense. So really, to me, it's impressive that without a real true point guard, Indiana only turned the ball over 7 times. The game was lost in rebounds. I mean, if you look at it,
10 rebounds, yeah.
Indiana took 54 shots. Northwestern took 70. Rebounds were 43 to 34. Where it stands out the most is Northwestern was able to get 13 offensive rebounds. Indiana only got 6 offensive rebounds. So really here, this was more about execution of rebounding a basketball than it was anything else. And the thing that to me is a little disappointing is you still had Race and you still had, Trace Jackson Davis in the game. They did combine for 17 rebounds, but I think that it's really tough to win when, you've got all the, I mean, you had, I think it was Nance. He only played like 29 minutes. And I think he had like 11 rebounds. You can't let that happen. And that was a guy that shot 2 for 10 from the field. Blue was their best player. I think he played 32 minutes and had 18 points. But this was a game that was really winnable for Indiana. But you talked about Trey at the end of the game and how winded he looked. This entire team looked winded in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I think that was the difference in the game.
Well, you got guys that are playing. I mean, Miller Kopp plays 33 minutes. Trace gets 38. Race 35.
Well, all 5 starters played 34
30 minutes or more, yeah. I mean,
and you only had one guy off the bench, Geronimo, who
played any significant minutes at all.
Yeah.
So you basically had a 6-man team out there. Yeah, that's going to win you. The things that stick out to me are I would have expected, again, you have your 2 big scorers, each only taking 13 shots in the game. I mean, they have to be more offensively minded, especially, and that's something that maybe came down to coaching a little bit, where somebody needs to step up and say, hey, you 2 guys need to be putting the ball up. I mean, we're not going to win with a combined 26 shots out of you 2 guys. Crap, we used to talk about Reggie Miller being a great scorer and things like that. What people fail to realize, Reggie probably never played 5 games in his career where he didn't get 25 to 30 shots off in a game. I mean, hell, you give me 30 shots in the NBA and I'll score 20 points.
I don't think you would, Steve.
I would have been my time, but not today.
I don't know. That time was like in, the 1920s?
Yeah.
Was there even an NBA when you played, Steve?
No, it was, I don't know what it was.
But
you want to know, right along the same side, you want to know how old I am?
How old are you, Steve?
Pete Nance.
Yeah.
I was recruited by the Phoenix Suns, drafted by the Phoenix Suns. Larry Nance was our number 1 pick, Pete's dad.
Yeah.
Larry was our number 1 pick. Sam Clancy, who went on to become a defensive tackle with the Colts in the NFL, was our number 2 pick. So, but yeah, so I grew up playing with Pete's dad. That's how old I am. Yeah.
So next up, the Indiana Hoosiers will face the Michigan State Spartans. This is a game that has taken on much significance now. It already was significant. But Michigan State lost last night to Wisconsin at home, 70-62. They lost on Saturday by 21 at Rutgers. They only beat Maryland by 2 last week. And, I mean, when you look at it, this is a Michigan State team that over the last 3 games has really struggled, Steve.
Yeah, they have. And it's not unusual for this team, truthfully. if you really go back to the annals of Michigan State basketball, right about now, right about this point in time, is when Michigan State slowly starts to build its tournament momentum. If you historically go back and follow them, so and really truly, given the fact that how they've lost their last 3 games, um, playing against this team right now with what's their coach's name? I'm forgetting his coach's name.
Tom Izzo.
Tom Izzo. Without playing against Izzo, that's kind of the last coach you want to face right now. I mean, he's got to right his ship right now too and get them on track for the Big Ten tournament and get a good seed, and then for the NCAA tournament too. So he's talking to his team probably with a lot more vociferity than even Knight is or Woody's talking to his team right now. You know,
Yeah,
Woody's pissed off at 5 players at this point in time, and probably very pleased with the other 5. Very pissed at getting a loss here, but Izzo, I'm sure, is grinding that entire team into the ground, and he's going to have them ready. He's got time to rest. You know, it's Tuesday or Wednesday now. He doesn't play again until Saturday at 3:30 his time. He's got time to drive his players a little bit, rest them, get them going. You're not going to – I'm highly unlikely you're going to see the same Michigan State team Saturday that you've seen the last 3 games.
Well, hopefully we will see the same team we've seen. But right now, Indiana is 16-7, 7-6 in the Big Ten. Now you go Michigan State, host Wisconsin, and that's Saturday, Tuesday. And then next Saturday, you go to Ohio State. Really, Steve, the way these teams are playing out of these next 3 games, Michigan State may be the most winnable one.
Yeah, it may be. It's a team. It's in a situation right now that could go 0-3 on you real quick.
Yeah, but the one good thing about that, if you go 0-3, then you get Maryland, Minnesota, Rutgers. You might be able to win all 3 of them.
3, but
yeah,
you know,
but I wouldn't want to attempt it right now.
What I didn't want to see happen this year was what is starting to transpire, sadly, is our play in the Big Ten tournament is going to be a deal breaker or maker for us.
Yeah, which Indiana's never been good in that game.
No, we've never played well in the Big Ten. Indiana's never won the Big Ten tournament. Are we the only team in the Big Ten of the original members who have never won the damn thing?
Well, I don't think Northwestern's won it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, they were good for a few years.
Yeah, but they never won the Big Ten tournament.
Okay, well, it may be the 2, but everybody else at some point in time, I think, has captured that damn tournament of the original Big Ten teams.
Of the
not the add-ons.
Big Ten 10 teams. Yeah, nobody likes
the original 10 Big Ten teams, yeah.
Yeah, Maryland should still be in the ACC.
But historically, you're right. We have never fared well in this tournament. Usually 1 win on a good year and then out. Or we're out in the first game, depending on who we draw. But the more we lose these kinds of games, the worse our draw is going to get in the Big Ten tournament. Now, it is in Indianapolis, which is an advantage to us. But I don't want to take away from the positiveness of the 6 guys that went out on the court and played. And, you know, I thought those guys were coached well, prepared well to win. I really just think they ran out of steam with about 4 or 5 minutes to go. And that's when Northwestern finally just started pulling away from us a little bit, was in the last 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't think the score indicates how close this game was.
And it
was a tight game all the way through.
Right now, Indiana sits 8th in the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's a question whether the NCAA will take 8 Big Ten teams.
I think this, unless Michigan, Indiana, or Iowa get hot. I mean, if you look at this right now, Purdue, they're definitely going 21-3. Wisconsin 19-4. Illinois 17-6. They're locks. Ohio State's probably a lock. And the thing about Ohio State is they get a couple extra games that they missed that were canceled because of COVID and in a storm a week or 2 ago. So, I mean, they can put themselves back in the hunt. I mean,
are they going to make those games up?
Yeah, they're making the games up over the next month. That's 2 games to make up there. And you got Michigan State. I think those 5 are probably solidly in. Then you got Rutgers. They're 7-5 in the Big Ten, but they're only 13-9 overall. The same thing with Michigan, 6-5, 12-9 overall. Indiana 7-6, 16-7. Iowa 5-6, 15-7. So I think your best chance to get more than 5 or 6 teams is for Indiana and Iowa to play well the last part of this season. I think that gets you up to 7, and you still have outliers with Michigan and Rutgers, who are talented enough to beat anybody. If one of them can make a run, then maybe you can see 8 or 9 teams. Right now, my guess is they get 6 or 7.
Yeah, and Indiana needs 1 and probably 2 quadrant wins running down this stretch.
Well, they're going to need that just because that's mostly what they play the rest of the way.
Yeah, they're going to have to have,
so.
but they're going to have 2 good quadrant wins and not lose any of the other games where they're a comparable team to, like I would say, like a Rutgers, teams like that. You know, I consider ourselves probably on the same plane as Rutgers right now. Actually, probably with our talent a little bit better.
Actually, I think Rutgers has better talent. I mean, from watching them and what they did, they blew Michigan State out of the water. They beat Purdue
we don't know how good
year.
Michigan State. You know, I mean, we know Tom Izzo.
Yeah, but we're talking about a 20-point win over Michigan State.
Right?
It's not like
I'm aware of that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, Mike, for all intent and purposes, we may go in and blow Michigan State out of the gym.
We might.
And yeah, that may happen. But and we're rooting for that to happen. I mean, I don't think it's all doom and gloom yet, but we're just getting ourselves back into that bucket of, damn, now we got to claw our way out of that bucket.
How about this? If they win one of the next 3 games, those 3 games are all quadrant one. If they could just win one of them and be sitting at 17-8, 17-9, then win the 3 games they should win before the Purdue game, I think they'll be okay. Fine. Yeah. But they're going to have to get one of these 3 wins, I think, because.
But then, see, you put yourself in that whole scenario of upsets in small conference tournaments. You know, you got a small school who's dominated the league, and then some team at 5-30 or whatever it is comes and beats that team in the championship game of their gets the automatic seed. You know, those are the things. What they're doing is, I felt a week ago, Indiana controlled its own destiny. I felt that if they just did what they had to do, they would play themselves into the tournament. Now they're digging themselves into a pathway that's going to suggest that they're going to have to rely on other people to help them get in the tournament. And we're not there yet, but we're headed to that direction again, as we have done for so many years in the last 20, including the last 5 we haven't made the tournament, period.
Well, and actually, if you go to CBS Sports right now, Indiana is now on the bubble, or on that list of 10 teams on the bubble.
Yeah, see, they've already earned, on one poll, they've already earned a bubble spot. So that's and looking at their schedule here, it's not going to be better, not being any easier. So, you know, the one thing I noticed in this team, what's lacking, and if you think back to the 3 championship teams in the Knight era, what is the one thing that dominant that all 3 of those teams had?
Well, they had point guards that were leaders.
Exactly. Golly, Mike, we are both geniuses. They had point guards that were leaders. Buckner, Isaiah, and Alford were point guards that, although Isaiah may have been, or Alford may have been more of a shooting guard, but still, he was the controller of that offense, one way or another. This team is really lacking a leader. Again, you know, we always
Trace Jackson Davis is a guy. Him and Race Thompson should have stepped up and dominated that game.
But they're not. They're just not of that mindset. I mean,
I know.
Unfortunately, and that's been our story too.
When's the last time we had a player of that mindset? Maybe Yogi
I was trying to think that back because after the.
What about Yogi?
Who?
Yogi Ferrell.
Oh, Yogi. Yeah, Yogi may be the last.
That's a decade ago.
Yeah, Yogi may be the last player. Gordon, Eric Gordon, was he was before Yogi though, wasn't he?
I don't remember. It all kind of runs together after Bobby Knight got fired.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, and I think that the greatest thing this team could do right now is somebody step up and be a leader on this team on the floor.
And that very rarely happens 2/3 of the way through a season.
You're right. If they haven't established leadership by now,
Yeah,
it's
because
not
leaders
likely
are
going to
leaders
happen.
from the time they step on campus normally.
Right. Yeah, Isaiah was. I mean, Isaiah came to the first practice as a freshman when I was a junior, and he just took over the team. I mean, there was no question who the leader. You know, we had Whitman sitting there, we had Woodson sitting there,
Kitchell.
and
Kitchell.
Kitchell, yeah,
I just only like to say it so you go, yeah, Kitchell. But
Kitchell.
Chuck
we
France.
knew that Brian Evans was coming down the road.
Yeah, somebody'd wear that 34 in the right way.
Somebody that could make 34 proud. But yeah, but Isaiah just took that team over, and this team right now is just badly lacking an on-court leader that's going to help pull Mike's coaching and Mike's game planning onto the court and run it on the court. And I think that may be our biggest liability that we have right now. I'm a little, I don't say concerned, but 2 games in a row now we've shot under 40% when we've been a very good shooting ball club all along.
Well,
You
the
know,
thing that gives me the most hope with this program is what happened yesterday. Because I think this, you don't hear about guys getting suspended for things like this very often,
yeah,
especially 5 of them. But at least we have a coach that knows what's important when you build a culture. Because we've talked about this before. When you go into a program, the culture is the big thing. If you allow stuff like this to go immediately, then that's what your culture ends up
yeah,
being. So I think this, in the long run, I know there's IU fans that are upset because we want to win the game and you should let them play or all this crap, but it's not, because in the end, if you want Indiana basketball to be what Indiana basketball used to be, you have to have somebody that's strong enough to come in, stand up for his convictions, and basically pound that culture into people, and then go out and recruit people that fit that culture. I think that's what Woodson's doing. I think we're fine right now. We may not be fine for this year, but the end game here is not this year. The end game is 2 years from now to me.
right. And I don't think you'll find one former player or one person tied to the program at all that shakes his head. Why do we do that? I mean, I was actually sad that the event occurred, but glad that Mike took the position that he took, because I saw this very thing happen in my playing days at IU as well. The same situation, and it was dealt with in the exact same manner: swift, decisive, to the point, and definitive. You know, it's just that's it. You will not break our rules.
And how
You
about
will
this,
stay.
Steve? Once you saw that, you knew to never to do shit like that, correct?
It scared the snot out of me, and I wasn't even involved in it.
Yeah. But I think that's
So
the point. Even if you're not involved in it, that
yeah.
culture tells you this is what's expected. You can't do this. And if you do, you're going to have issues.
Well, and I think the message that Mike and Knight tried to drive home in those incidents is you're not bigger than the team. The team will always remain bigger than you. And if you don't want to play by the team's culture or rules, then maybe this is not the program for you. And I know the amount of time Mike and Woody or Mike and Knight have spent together. I know how much they respected and liked each other. And this doesn't surprise me at all that disciplinary action was taken this swiftly at an incredibly crucial time in the season, because what Mike's teaching him is a lot bigger than just making the dance this year. Like you said, Mike's building this team so that in 5 years, 6, 7 years now, if he hands it off to somebody, that it's going to be a better program than it's been in the last 20 years. And I applaud Mike and the team and the coaching staff for taking this stance, whatever it may be. They wouldn't do it unfounded.
Yeah. All right. We will be back. You want to go right after the Michigan State game on Saturday, Steve?
Yeah, there's no NASCAR, so I'm good.
Yeah, and Sunday we can't do a show because that's the biggest day in the history of Western
What's
civilization.
happening on Sunday?
That's the Bengals win the Super Bowl.
Oh, there you go. Go
So,
Bengals.
and then next year it'll play the Colts in the AFC Championship game.
And it'll be the Bengals again.
Yes, that's what I'm hoping. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. And don't forget to check out betting.net, who is our sponsor. And you can find BetMGM if you want to bet the games tonight. You can find a link in the video down below. And find the best place to bet for you. Betting.net offers expert and user reviews for every online sportsbook and casino in your state. Make sure you check them out at betting.net. All right, guys, you can follow Steve Risley at SRisley34. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.